from Los Angeles, I'm Jenny Taft, here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Guys, what are we doing?
How you doing, Skip?
I am now convinced you have a Dak Prescott voodoo doll up in your palatial estate way up there in Bel Air, and every night you take one more pin and you stick it in your Dak Prescott voodoo doll. There can be no other explanation for what we are seeing.
What do we see? We haven't seen anything.
I don't know. That's the problem. Nothing.
We haven't seen anything.
I don't, Shannon, you don't strike me as a voodoo doll kind of guy.
No,
yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Well, we will get to that, I promise you. We're going to get to Joel Embiid's big new contract in a second. But first, since you want to talk about Dak, since you want to talk about the Cowboys, let's start there. Dak Prescott remained limited in practice last night, and just days after a MRI showed positive signs of his muscle strain healing, Mike McCarthy told reporters that the team is, quote, playing it cautiously with their franchise quarterback. McCarthy also said, quote, no urgency from my perspective to see Dak play against Houston. He also said that if Dak does not play this Saturday, the team will hold him out for their final preseason game, which makes sense. So, Shannon, if you got the voodoo doll, what's going on here?
Skip, I told you when this came out, it sounded a little bit more serious than what they were leading on. They didn't want to. Dak being upset because you haven't relayed to him, Dak, we're going to take some of your throws because we feel you're throwing too much, but it plays out really well on the camera. It looks like Dak is frustrated because he hasn't been given the information that he needs.
What is that about? It's crazy. It's not the way you run America's team. It's just so... It's so amateurish to me, and it plays out right before the world to watch on Hard Knocks.
Right.
And by the way, the Dak quote, this is at the first of camp, I definitely want to play in preseason games. As far as giving you a number, I can't give you a number. I just want to obviously get back out there and get some reps before it's real.
Yes,
right?
yes.
That's what you always say. Just to have live defense coming at me. And he said it's just a part of the process of what he calls bearing the injury. Well, he wasn't talking about his arm injury because it hadn't happened.
Right.
He's talking about the career-threatening ankle, the compound fracture of his ankle. He needs some reps under fire just to be able to get his feet underneath him, his legs underneath him, and say, I'm okay, right?
Yes,
Psychologically, I'm good.
Skip, it was hard. 95, I missed a bunch of I had off-season ankle surgery, and I missed a bunch of time, and I ended up tweaking the ankle in practice, and so basically I missed all of preseason except the last game. We go down to Jacksonville, we play in Jacksonville, and Mike tells me, Shannon, I'm going to play you until the second half because I need you to get... But I couldn't. I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be in. Come first game against Buffalo, if I'm healthy that game, I'll probably go for 250, 300. At the time, I had one of the fifth best received opening days in NFL history. But I was so fatigued.
Was that a shot at the Bills? At
No. Well, it was them that just tried to play me man-to-man. I don't know, maybe whatever they were thinking. But, Skip, I was so fatigued. I was so out of sorts, like with the step and hand placement. It was one of my best receiving days, but it was probably one of my worst overall games in the history that I played. For the simple fact, I got no preseason. I got no preseason games, and for someone and guys, I tip my hat to a guy like Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson because they really never played in this preseason, and they still went out there and were able to get MVPs and things. But I couldn't do it, Skip, and it's hard for me to see a quarterback not take any reps and just come out there and just start firing. Patrick Mahomes played. Tom Brady played.
Barely, but they played.
But they
just want to get their feet
They
wet.
want to get the feel, Skip. You want your spidey senses to start tingling so when you feel guys around, you know when to duck and how to fall. Tom's like, okay, yeah. But for Dak to not take any, and you gonna go September 9th, says, okay, Dak, go in there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the best defenses in football. Go handle that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So McCarthy last night before that nighttime practice said, this is more about we don't want to big deal, nothing to see here, move along. A setback possibility means it's really not good.
Right.
It means it could go again and you go right back to square one and he would be missing regular season games.
Right.
With an injury I frankly have never heard of.
Setback means, Skip, is that it hadn't healed or progressed to the point that we feel comfortable allowing him to do what he would normally do.
Okay.
So we're going to be overly cautious because the injury was more serious than we led you to believe.
Okay, I got it. So to your point about LaDainian, Adrian Peterson, Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
They don't need to touch the football or bang pads with anybody in a preseason game, because the easiest position to translate from college to pro football is the running back position.
It's just instinct. Just take the ball
more
and get
instinctive. and again, you have your gifts and you need to be in shape.
Oh, yeah,
Zeke hasn't been in great shape.
Right.
But Adrian and LaDainian would be in peak shape for game number one. And they would be fresh because they haven't been running into people.
Correct.
Maybe they would some in some goal line drills in camp. Maybe in some scrimmages against another team, they would get a few carries just to get their bodies used to a little bit of contact. But they're waiting for game one, and they will be ready. Zeke, whatever he has to give back, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. However good he can be in game one, he's already there. He'll be there right now. Quarterback is a completely different beast.
Completely.
It is cerebral and physical, and so much is happening so fast.
Yes.
You can't simulate it in practice.
No.
You really can't simulate it in a camp scrimmage against the Los Angeles Rams because you're wearing a target where they can't touch you, and it's just different. They can sort of...
When you charge, Skip, you tell them, like, okay, in this period, like here, we'd like for you to show us a couple of these looks. You're actually telling them the kind of looks that you would like to see because of the things that you like to work on, and vice versa. They tell you what they would like because there's some things they want to work on. I promise you in the game, they're not calling across the field, hey, Mike, what you want to see today? What kind of...
If you are basing your whole approach post-Green Bay to coaching football to analytics-based, isn't that what he says? Because he spent a whole year with pro football.
For the cameras. He already knew the answer. That's why he asked that question and brought... He already knew the answer. Oh, so that's what makes it seem like, oh... You see how they track it now, and Dak is already up to 500 and something, and we don't want him to get over 500, so that's way too many throws. We need to back it. Yeah, we need to back him up.
It sounded like you let it run away under your nose. Why shouldn't you have known that as you got toward the danger point, right?
But here's the thing, Skip. They're tracking that on the field in real time. That's what you do. They got things in pads so you can actually track it. So somebody's
it's like
running
a pedometer. You can count your steps.
Yes. What do they call that thing? What do they call it?
Pedometer.
Something that counts, just like an Apple Watch that counts your steps. And that's basically what it is. It's counting how many miles, how many yards, how many feet you've run. And well, you know, that's a bit much. He's a little heavy.
Okay, we got to dial him back down.
Right.
Well, how could you have let it get to the danger zone without monitoring it earlier?
Correct.
Because remember, Mike spent a whole year at your favorite website, Pro Football Focus, learning second level, third level analytics.
Right.
So this is one new stat that he didn't monitor in Green Bay with Aaron or Brett, right? So he says, ooh, we got to dial him down. Next thing you know, we see Dak mic'd up at practice, and he's muttering under his breath. Blah, 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 blah.
Reps. Why they take me out? I need these reps.
I need these reps, and he's furious about it. Okay, why wouldn't Mike McCarthy pull him aside before practice? Isn't that the relationship that you have with your quarterback and your head coach?
Well, you have that going in. He's like, look, Dak, you're going to be on a pitch count the first week or so of practice.
When you tell him,
yes, absolutely.
We're actually going to track every throw that you make. And
he's coming off a major injury. It ain't like that. Dak has been...
No, but that was an ankle injury, and he had, as he admitted to the cameras on Hard Knocks, he had a second surgery on his ankle, so now he's got a wishbone scar. He's got two incisions. And we didn't know that exactly, although maybe that was reported. I don't remember. But he says they kept that from the media. But again, that was my only concern going in is, will that stand up to battle? You know, will he be able to step in? And he said early in camp, I need some preseason reps just to make sure it's okay.
But you watch Dak when he warm up, what's he doing? You throw the ball from waist down. Well, he broke his right ankle, Skip. That's the ankle that you plant and drive off of. So is he comfortable enough driving off the ankle, or is he just using too much shoulder?
Okay. So we saw some sort of B-roll video of him in camp just throwing the hell out of it. Those targets, those baskets. And he's throwing rockets. Okay, and I'm thinking, wow, I love that. But did he throw too many too soon? But to the point that you pulled something in your... I've never heard of that. Okay, and I've also never heard of a coach then not explaining to especially the player, the quarterback, oh, I'm going to cut you back in practice. And so Dak's furious, muttering F-bombs under his breath about how dare them do this to me.
And see, then again, Skip, that's all for show, because in a situation like that, I'm not saying Dak is the equivalent of John Elway, but John knew what periods, how many throws he was going to have in X amount of period, and how much he was going to throw, and when he was going to be off. That's something you relay to him. See, this is why sometimes I don't like Hard Knocks, because I believe this is something that you did for the camera.